Ladies and gentlemen, if that doesn't get you excited for what's to come for the start of the NFL season, you better check your pulse because you might be dead. All right. NFL is here. It's almost preseason time. We are already fully into best ball season. Best ball summer is officially here. We're going to go position by position. We're going to start with the quarterbacks today, and I'm going to do a video for each one of the positions. Everybody loves the quarterback position, right? I mean, they are the glitz. They're the glamour. You've got Josh Allen, the GOAT, Patrick Mahomes, and Anthony Richardson, Lamar Jackson. Come on, guys. It all starts and ends with the quarterback position. That is the most important position in football, bar none. If you don't agree with me, argue with the wall because you're wrong. And I am going to start with quarterbacks today. So what I plan to do is, as you see, got the board up here. We've got our Checkdown Champs rankings, checkdownchamps.com /projections is where I'm at right now. And then we've got the most up-to-date underdog rankings on the right-hand side. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a little bit of a comparison, talk about a couple of players I like, maybe even a couple of stacks I like with those players. And then maybe even lean a little bit into my personal rankings that I have as well. Just going to talk the quarterback position. All right. And I hope you find this video insightful, delightful, exciting, and entertaining. How about that one? Anyways, now that I've gone off the rails, what I want to say is do me a favor before I get further into this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all of the above, all of the below. Hit the button below. Please help me get to 1,000 subs. That is my before pre-NFL season goal. I have no doubt that we'll get there. We smashed subs last year, so we're going to get right to it. All right, the first guy I have right at the top of my rankings is in line with Underdog, and that's Joshua Allen. Now, Josh Allen was quarterback one last year in fantasy with really, which should be no surprise. Josh Allen plays lights out. The guy has the running floor that you're looking for, that rushing floor that he provides where he can take the ball and run if he doesn't see anything he likes. He can throw the ball. He's got a laser rocket arm. I mean, the guy can do it all. However, actually, before I even get into the potential negative, let's just say I have no problem. Josh Allen's number one. He is number one on my personal rankings as well as on our Checkdown Champs rankings. And obviously, Underdog agrees. However, though, let me go back to the however. If you were to find something against Joshua Allen being your quarterback one this year, I think for the first time in a few years, you could actually make that argument now, because a couple of guys are up there and they've gotten better. A couple of teams have gotten better around him, and his wide receiving core has gotten worse. They lost Diggs. Obviously, they had a great relationship. They had a great rapport. Those two guys loved each other, and then it kind of went a little bit south. Diggs didn't look like his former self entirely. And I think that, it was just it had ran its course. They obviously didn't get it done together. I'm sure they're both disappointed. He loses his number one receiver. You could make the argument that Josh Allen hasn't had a good season without Diggs there, which is true. However, I think Josh Allen has obviously grown immensely as a player over the last few years. And now he has to kind of reset with a new receiving core. So who's going to be his number one? Is it Curtis Samuel? Is it Keon Coleman, the guy they drafted? Or is it Khalil Shakir? Personally, I think out of that wide receiver core, Curtis Samuel is the guy I want to stack with him most often. I know Keon Coleman is the preferred stack as far as the market goes, but the guy I've been grabbing a lot is Curtis Samuel. And if you want a stack with Josh Allen that I think is even better than that, I think the guy that actually ends up leading this team in targets is Dalton Kincaid. And I'm not going to say anything more about it because I'm going to save that for the tight end section. But if you're looking for a piece to stack with Josh Allen, and I do think while you have a rushing quarterback, you can get away with running him out there naked and not stacking him. I think if you really want all the money this year, you got to get Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid on the same team if you're going to draft the hero quarterback in Josh Allen. So no problems with him at number one. The guy at number two, let's talk about it. So Dak Prescott. Now, let me go out and say that this is a Checkdown Champs team ranking. All right. So I have no problem with him being there. He's not there in my personal rankings. However, I will admit that I also didn't realize, and shame on me, I just didn't look at the data. I knew he had a great year, a very good year, a great year, but I did not realize how good of a season Dak Prescott actually had last year. And that, again, shame on me. Now, I think a part of this is the Dallas Cowboys were in a lot of shootout games. They had to score a lot of points. Part of this is just Dak is just playing well. The defense, while they have some really strong pieces, is leaky. You know, you've got Micah Parsons there that can get after the quarterback. They lost Diggs early on in the season, although he's either a pick or he gives up a touchdown kind of player. He's either boom or bust. I don't think many people are making the argument that he's a lockdown corner. So I think Dallas is going to be, again, the same thing this year. They're going to find themselves in a lot of high-scoring games, and Dak is our quarterback two on our Checkdown Champs rankings. You can see right here on the screen. Hopefully it's big enough for you to see. Here are our projections, guys. These are all free. We're just giving them away for free. We have put countless hours, and I put countless hours even more today in. Literally today, I went in and tweaked these down just a little bit more, just trying to get them perfect to where I'm like, you know what? I feel good. I feel good about them. And I think that as we move through training camp, as we move through preseason, they're going to be tweaked and massaged even more. However, as of today on this free site, checkdownchamps.com, we have Dak as our number two quarterback. I mean, what more do I need to say? Stack him with CeeDee Lamb. He's their best player. He's the best receiver in the league right now for fantasy. My only concern, if you want a concern, is that who else is he going to throw the ball to? And, you know, you got Brandon Cooks entering his, year 31, age 31 season. Does he take a step back? You know, Brandon Cook's never been a huge touchdown guy. He scored a ton of touchdowns last year. I do think what Dak has going for him is Ferguson's going to step up, I think, too. He's a tight end I really like. So, you know, you've got some things working against him and some things working for him. We have Dak projected for 35 touchdowns. He actually threw 36 last year, so this is right on line with that. Dak had a 69% completion rate last year, really solid. So, you know, I have no issues with Dak at number two. I think the reason my exposure to him isn't larger is just because of the players that I could get around him. But again, so we have him as quarterback two in a perfect world. Underdog has him down here at quarterback 9. So what I want to point out, the last thing I'll say about Dak, is a huge value right now of Dak Prescott at quarterback 9 compared to where we have him in our rankings as quarterback 2. And my personal rankings, I have him as quarterback 8. So I'm a little bit more in line with Underdog, but no problem there. I just worry a little bit about that core around him. All right. Anthony Richardson, number 3. You know what? Actually, the guy I love the most is the guy I'm going to talk about the least. Insane rushing floor. The guy's an alien. If he can stay healthy with this good, very strong to good to great receiving core that they have in Pittman, Downs, Adonai Mitchell, and Pierce, and then throw in Jelani Woods as a tight end, Granson, Mo Alley Cox, Jonathan Taylor run out of the backfield. What more do I need to say? I love this guy. I think 24 touchdowns for him is an appropriate number for him through the air. But as you see, we have 11. We've projected for 11 rushing touchdowns for Anthony Richardson. I totally think that's within his realm of possibility. I think he absolutely could and might exceed that. And I personally have him. So I'm moving him up my list, but I'm going to say that I am not surprised if he is my quarterback 1 by the end of the season, or I'm sorry, by the end of preseason, my personal quarterback 1. And I would even go on the bubble to say right now that I think he ends the season as quarterback 1 in fantasy. That is my hot take. All right, we're going to move right on, like I said. And over here on Underdog, though, quarterback 5. All right. So I'm not, we're not that far off at 3 here with him. Lamar right behind him, another freak. Gives you a great rushing floor. I think that you see a little bit fewer rushing touchdowns out of him. He's slimmed down this year. I also think add in the fact that they have Derrick Henry in the backfield now, and he's going to be handling the ball much less, I think, than in past seasons, maybe much less scripted runs. However, I do think that I do also think that he's going to be really successful throwing the ball, as he's taken huge leaps in that area over the last 2 years. He has a great wide receiver core around him. Mark Andrews is back, hopefully healthy. I think Lamar is right there. Any of these guys are kind of like, you're in the top 5. I would say even down to, I'll give you a tier here soon, but they're kind of all almost interchangeable. Draft them all, somewhat equally. Get some exposure to all of them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. An underdog. I don't think there's anybody in this group that you need to worry about fading. I would not recommend that. So we're going to move right along to the GOAT, the best actual quarterback in the NFL, and that is Patty Mahomes here. 33 touchdown passes is our projection for him. 351 fantasy points. Really, the only issue you have with Patrick Mahomes is just he doesn't have that huge rushing floor that you have with at least 3 out of the 4 top guys here. Dak's not really a big rusher. I'm going to have to look at that 5 rushing touchdowns. How many did he have last year? That just seems high to me. He had 2 last year. I think we're going to bump that number down a little bit. So I think that could potentially move Dak down underneath Anthony Richardson. And I'll have to talk to my partner Donuts and see if he agrees, or he might fight me a little bit on that, but we'll have to talk about that. But Patrick Mahomes, can't go wrong with him. The best wide receiver core he's had since Tyreek Hill left. Last year, he literally won the Super Bowl with a bunch of stone hand bums on the team catching passes, minus Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice. And he gets hopefully Rashee Rice for the whole season. We haven't heard about his suspension yet. Xavier Worthy. He's got Hollywood Brown. I mean, like, come on. What more do you need for the guy, right? All right. Patrick Mahomes, nothing else to be said there. Then we move really quickly. We're going to move a little quicker through these. Jalen Hurts is a guy I'm a little bit lower on, I think, personally, than the market. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is going number 2 quarterback overall here. I think a part of that is the talent, and a part of that is the skill players that you can stack with Jalen Hurts. If you are a team that is drafting A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, he is an easy stacking piece there. It just makes a lot of sense. Jalen Hurts ended the season last year as quarterback 2, even in a year that he played poorly, in my opinion. By his standards, poorly. Only 3,800 passing yards. But he's got that huge rushing floor. 157 rushes last year for 605 yards and 15 touchdowns, matching only Josh Allen last year. So the tush push, I do think there is some concern that the tush push goes away. And you can see we have him projected for 8 touchdowns this year. I think 6 to 9 is probably a fine range there. But I do think that tush push frequency comes down a little bit with the addition of a very capable, beefy running back in the red zone in Saquon Barkley. So that's my concern there. I think that Jalen Hurts' biggest issue also, along with that, is just that new offensive coordinator. They didn't have Steichen. They lost him last year to the beloved Colts, the amazing and incredible Indianapolis Colts. And Steichen's the real deal as far as play callers go. So I think that this offense took a big step back. And I'm curious to see if they take a step forward this year, or if we see more of 2023 Jalen Hurts. All right, the next guy we have on our list right behind Jalen Hurts is Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. Now, this is a leap a little bit. We have him right here. What's he coming in as? Quarterback 6 here? They, on Underdog, have him at quarterback 10. Our friends at Underdog, he is being drafted as quarterback 10 right now. In my personal rankings, I also have him as quarterback 10, actually. Just looked at that. Different order, though, of other people here. I mean, it's hard to argue with just got a massive contract, playing on a great team, great offensive mind, great head coach. The talent is there, and the weapons are there. Might have, as far as 1 through 4 receivers, might have the strongest, and I would go out on a limb, maybe it's not even a limb, and say he does have the strongest top 4 receivers in the league right there. Maybe you can make the argument with some of these top-heavy teams of Houston and Chicago with their 3-headed monsters. But as far as just like an even playing field of good receivers, Green Bay's right up there. So give me Jordan Love. Also has a little bit of a rushing floor, but it's really a talent play for me. All right. So after Jordan Love is CJ Stroud, Tua Tagovailoa. Oh, thank you. And Joe Burrow. Let's go with those 3 guys at once here. So we got Stroud, Tua, and Joe Burrow. We'll take them right in order. CJ Stroud, phenomenal rookie year. Great rookie season, pinpoint accuracy, weapons galore in this offense. CJ Stroud is set up for huge success in this offense. I really have no negatives to say about the guy. I think he's a great quarterback in a great spot. Very curious to see how he follows up his phenomenal rookie season. We have him ranked right there as, man, I really got to put numbers next to these. As quarterback 8. And Tua is our quarterback 9 here. We have him projected for 4,700 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns for skinny Tua this year. What can you say? The guy's got incredible weapons around him, a great offensive mind in Mike McDaniels. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jonnu Smith, Devin Achane, Raheem Mostert, Jalen Wright. I mean, what else do you want? The team's loaded. Tua's got no excuses but to play great. And I think he does. I think we have him appropriately priced over here on Underdog Fantasy. Our friends over here have him as quarterback 15, which I just think is a little low given the weapons that he has. Not a huge Tua guy, but I'm a believer in the offense, the system, and the weapons around Tua. When you have a quarterback that you can hit a guy on a 5-yard slant that he could end up housing for 70 yards, that's a pretty good spot to be in. Tua doesn't have to do too much there. And Joe Burrow is back. Joe Cool is back. Hopefully that wrist injury is healed up and he's healthy. I have him projected for 31 touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns. And a lot of this, I got to be honest, he's tied to my favorite wide receiver to draft this year. Yes, you heard that right. My favorite wide receiver to draft, and that is Jamar Chase. I've been grabbing a ton of Jamar Chase. I always feel like I don't have enough. I have Joe Burrow ranked as my personal 7th overall quarterback. And let's see, the market has him at quarterback 8. So I'm pretty close to the market there. And I can see we're coming up on a guy we're going to talk about here in a minute. But let's stay in order and go to Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, and we'll take Kyler in this group as well, okay? Let's start with Trevor Lawrence right here. Trevor Lawrence is in I don't want to say a make or break season, but he's surrounded by weapons. He's got a great team. They drafted Brian Thomas Jr. They had a great team last year, and Trevor Lawrence played okay. I would say he was probably a little bit disappointed in how he played. I think that overall his fantasy owners were probably a little disappointed. Only getting 21 passing touchdowns out of Trevor Lawrence is lower than you want. And if we're going to be drafting him here, we're going to be expecting more out of him. Our yardage for him at 4,100 is right in line with what he had last year at 4,016. But we're projecting him for 5 more touchdowns this year. Hopefully a guy like Evan Ingram takes a big leap forward for him and continues on that upward trajectory that he was on. And yeah, honestly, I just think that this team is going to find themselves in a lot of shootouts, and they're going to rely on Trevor to throw the ball a lot, even if they're playing from behind. So it doesn't have to be a great quarterback, and the team doesn't have to be good for him to be a good fantasy quarterback. And conversely, Trevor Lawrence is going over here on Underdog at quarterback 14. The next guy we have here is Brock Purdy. Again, one of those guys, phenomenal weapons around him. Had a great season last year. Like, I was surprised to see him as quarterback 6 last year. 31 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, 4,200 yards, almost a 70% completion rate, and a partridge in a pear tree. Brock Purdy plays on a great team. They've lost none of their weapons. Kittle should be a little bit healthier, I think. I just think that this is just a plug and play. And Brock Purdy, so let's see, he is going over here on Underdog as quarterback 12, right behind Jaden Daniels and before Caleb Williams. I mean, my goodness, Brock Purdy's a smash there, especially if you drafted Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel to pair him with, or Kittle for that matter. Jared Goff is next here. Detroit is relevant again. Shout out to all the Detroit Lions fans. You guys have waited a long time for this. You certainly have earned it. You deserve it. Soak it in, enjoy it, because man, it's like here today, gone tomorrow in the NFL. And but you know what? Nobody's happier for the Detroit Lions than I am, because they have suffered for so long. And I have a good friend of mine who is a Detroit Lions lifelong fan, and he deserves this happiness. So I hope they continue it. I think they got a great head coach. Jared Goff is great for this system. 29 passing touchdowns is what we have him projected for this year. He was quarterback 7 last year when all was said and done. This year he is going on Underdog as quarterback 16. So I think you're getting a little bit of value there. Another guy who signed a massive contract, threw for 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns last year, ran 2 more in, and he just has weapons galore around him. Now, they did lose Reynolds, which I think is going to hurt him just slightly, but they're projecting, and the word around the camp is that Jameson Williams looks great this year, faster than he's ever been. Jameson's the guy that's taken the biggest leap, are his coach's words. If anybody, out of everybody in camp, who's taken the biggest leap? Everybody keeps saying Jameson Williams. So if that is true, I think that losing Reynolds is a tiny little fraction of a deduction. Jameson Williams hitting his peak potential or even getting anywhere near that is a massive boost for this offense. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you've got Laporta, you've got Gibbs that can catch the ball out of the backfield, you got Montgomery to run it. This offense is loaded, and Jared Goff is right where he belongs, in my opinion. I could totally see a little shift here coming in the next, week or two, depending on what we see from camp. But I don't even think I have to see too much more before I know that we're going to make a slight adjustment here. And I'm picturing a guy like Purdy and Jared Goff leapfrogging Trevor Lawrence and maybe even Kyler jumping up. And that's the guy we'll talk about next. Kyler Murray hopefully is healthy this year, coming off of that lower body injury. I think Kyler runs quite a bit, but not as much as he used to run or before the injury, how much he did before. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time before he gets back there. But I have been hearing good things that his agility and his quickness is back. And if that's back, Kyler is one of those guys that can end the season where he ended in 2021? 2021 Kyler Murray? No, 2020 Kyler Murray. 2020 Kyler Murray ended as the quarterback 2. He put up 3,900 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and then had 819 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. So he's been a little bit derailed with injuries. I think he's quarterback 7 right now over on Underdog. We have him a little bit lower because of his injury history. However, also has the best weapons he's had in years in Arizona, maybe ever since the time he's been in the NFL. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, James Conner out of the backfield. I think this team, and the beloved Greg Dortch, how could I forget? Michael Wilson, this team is loaded up, all right? I think that Kyler is going to be, he has every opportunity to be a smash here. And even at his quarterback 7 price tag, he could absolutely be a top 5 quarterback. However, I will say one thing. I think if you're in this zone, I'd probably just wait and grab either Joe or Dak over Kyler. And I know that might be a little bit unpopular, especially seeing that, everybody's drafting him as quarterback 7. I get it. When you draft Marvin Harrison in that first round, you're looking for that quarterback when you come back around, maybe through the 4th or 5th round. But he's got to have that huge rushing floor in order for him to be a top 5 quarterback. So you're not paying for his ceiling, but you're close to it right now, quarterback 7. That's what I'll say. Now, I paused there because I want to talk about this next here. Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. This is all a big tier I'm going to kind of group together and just fly right through them here. Geno Smith is my favorite lower tier quarterback of the season. He's got a great team around him in DK Metcalf. He's got great running backs in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. He's got JSN, hopefully a guy who's going to take, trying to make sure I didn't mute my mic, a guy that's hopefully going to take a huge leap this season. Tyler Lockett is still there and doesn't seem to be aging anytime soon. And the great tight end Noah Fant. Now, couple that with the fact that they've brought in a new offensive coordinator from the University of Washington. And I think that's a recipe for a great Geno Smith season in a very quarterback-friendly offense. Now, Geno's season in 2023 was a little bit disappointing. I think a part of that was Geno, and a part of that was they ran the fewest offensive plays out of any team in the NFL last year. Not ideal for the offense. However, if we go back to 2022, Geno Smith, 2022 in Seattle, was quarterback number 5. If you are surprised to hear that, you are probably not the only one. However, it is true, my friends. Quarterback number 5, 30 passing touchdowns, 4,200 yards, and he ran 1 in as well. The weapons are there for Geno. This offense is better than that offense. I think that if they move at a quicker pace, Geno Smith easily could crack quarterback 10. And right now on Underdog, where's my boy Geno going? Look at this disgustingness. He's going as quarterback 22. Out of everything that I've said tonight, if there's one guy I think is the best value out there on the board, yeah, I could say it. I think it's Geno Smith. Quarterback 22, top 5, realistically probably top 7 to 8 potential for sure. If it goes right for Geno. If Grubb is the offensive coordinator we think he's going to be, we hope he's going to be, the weapons are there. If the line can hold up and their pace of play is faster, that is truly within the realm of possibility. And you can get that guy right now, Geno Smith, quarterback 22 on Underdog. Go out and draft him. All right. Deshaun Watson, what's there to say? He's got a good cast around him in Amari Cooper, David Njoku, Deshaun Watson just hasn't been able to really put it together. He looked a little bit better in the second half of last season, but he just doesn't look like the same player. And I think it really comes down to his rushing floor is not there. Houston, Texas Houston Texan Deshaun Watson was a runner. We haven't really seen that since he's been at Cleveland. And I think that's really, really capping his ceiling and really his floor. So if we're going to see any kind of big season from Deshaun Watson, I think it really has to come from his legs, because that'll open up things in the passing game. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, essentially two similar players here, similar situations, both rookies with loaded wide receiver rooms. Caleb Williams has a three-headed monster in receivers and a very, very, very friendly wide receiver in and a very, very, very friendly wide receiver in Keenan Allen, a rookie quarterback stream, essentially like another more athletic tight end. Plus, we want to talk tight ends, Cole Kmet, great tight end, really came on last year. So Caleb Williams has all of the necessary tools in place for him to succeed. We have him projected for the same passing touchdowns as Jaden Daniels, the guy that's right below him, 23 for both of them. Jaden Daniels, a little bit more of a runner here. 4 rushing touchdowns projected for Jaden Daniels in that Washington Cliff Kingsbury offense. I am curious to see what Cliff Kingsbury does with Arizona and how he gets the most out of this dynamic quarterback. Terry McLaurin still there, Johan Dotson. They've got Ben Sinnott, a guy that they drafted in this year. Hopefully he is able to put the pieces together. He's a great athlete. The last couple of quarterbacks here, I'm going to kind of rapid fire off. Herbert is being drafted so late. Now, I get it. Harbaugh offense, they're probably going to run the ball a lot. I understand. However, it's still Justin Herbert. The guy's had monster seasons in a very different offense, but we know he's capable. Ladd McConkey's there. I've heard great things out of camp. Josh Palmer's capable. They've got some good pieces there. They lost Keenan Allen, obviously. Austin Eckler no longer there. I think if Justin Herbert throws the ball less, but is more efficient, you could still see a very good, very, very good season from Justin Herbert and exceed where he is currently being drafted right now, which on Underdog here is quarterback 17. I think you could easily see him as quarterback 12 or 13, maybe even higher potentially if we've all been lied to and they end up throwing the ball a lot more than we think. Will Levis is a guy that has all the talent around him, the big arm to back it up. The question is can he play well enough to be a fantasy viable option? He's shown that he can throw those spike weeks out there, which is what you're looking for in best ball. But can he do it more consistently? I'm in on Will Levis anytime I have one of his stacking pieces already drafted. Aaron Rodgers, back from the Achilles. He had 4 seconds worth of action last year for the New York Jets. I think he tremendously boosts this offense, especially the stock of Garrett Wilson. Drake May is a guy I've been targeting a lot in late rounds as my late round second quarterback when I already have a stud quarterback ahead of him. And I've been pairing him with Javon Baker, Pop Douglas, or maybe even my favorite option, Hunter Henry. Baker, we know you got Chris Godwin moving back into the slot. We know he's got 2 great weapons there, potentially a third one that's emerging in McMillan. Baker's pretty much the same case as last year. He had a great season last year. If he continues that upward trajectory, I think he's a great pick at ADP. Matt Stafford is a guy that I'm a little surprised to see him going here, but then I dug into it and I guess I get it. But I mean, if you want to talk about talent around him, look at the 2 receivers that he has that he can throw the ball to. Plus, throw it in with he's got Tyler Higbee, he's got Colby Parkinson, he's got Kyron Williams out of the backfield. And I think you could absolutely see Matt Stafford throw 30, 32 touchdowns. Probably ends up putting him in that quarterback 15 range. Right now on Underdog, Stafford is going at quarterback 19. We have him a little bit lower. But yeah, so the other guys on here, they're options. Bo Nix is a guy I've been drafting a little bit to stack with Cortland Sutton. But I have gone extensively down the quarterback list. I probably went further down and more in depth and talked about each one more than I originally planned to. But I do feel like it's important to start off your quarterback build, especially if you're going to go with only a 2 quarterback build on Underdog, which I personally like to do most of the time. You got to get it right. All right. You don't have to have the nut spot. You don't have to have the best guy, but you got to get it right. Your quarterback can't bomb. Let's talk strategy on another episode. I hope you found this one interesting, entertaining. Please do me a favor on your way out. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you want to see more of these. And if you do, I will be doing one for every position, and we'll be putting these out periodically. And remember, bet smart and win more.